Of course, we are operationally looking at everything. Either hotel or short-term rental that we're staying in. I wish there was a little bit, even if to launch on Airbnb, I'm going to say it, even just it was $100 just to try it.
I was, New York City or death.
You wear rose-colored glasses, and then when that doesn't happen, there can be a lot of trouble.
So you buy, you renovate, you refinance, you rent, and then you repeat. Okay.
Biggest misconception is you can just 3x what your long-term rental could be or 4x, and it's this, a get rich quick type thing.
Hello and welcome to the Property Manager as Guest. My name's Leo Walton. In this week's episode, we chat with expert hosts Annette and Sarah, the brains behind Thanks for Visiting, a leading short-term rental community and podcast. Stay tuned to learn why you should at least be a little bit terrified of short-term rentals, how get rich quick in this industry is simply a myth, and what to look for when purchasing real estate. There's more with Annette and Sarah in this week's episode of The Property Manager as Guest. Hi everyone and welcome to The Property Manager as Guest. I'm delighted today to be joined by two wonderful friends of the show, Annette and Sarah. Annette and Sarah, how are you both?
We're so good.
Hello, Leo. Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. Thanks for agreeing to come on to the show. You guys are so well known. I guess today we want to focus on a little bit on how it began for you both and where you see the industry going. So interested to get your thoughts. But before we do that, just for our audience who don't know you, although you'd have to have been living under a rock to not know the two of you, tell us where you are in the world and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Sure. We are together. Sarah and I are Thanks for Visiting. And we are tuning in from Columbus, Ohio, in the U.S.
And for anyone who's not been to Columbus, Ohio, how much of an STR market was there?
Actually, so I moved to Columbus, Leo, from New York City for the short-term rental market. It has, at the time, it had no regulations, which at the time, had I known more about regulations, that should have scared me a little bit. But it does now, and it's actually quite fair when it comes to the things they ask of us as short-term rental operators, and being able to both own and operate short-term rentals and also to be able to manage them. So it's a really great market. I actually did a partnership with Airbnb back in 2018, and they had they got hosts from all over the US. They got 7 or 8 of us, and 2 of us were from Columbus because our market is so good for short-term rentals. We have arguably the US's largest college, Ohio State University, and I think that has a lot to do with the number of short-term rentals in our marketplace. But it's a really great college town. It's quite big. It's got about 2 million people in the greater Columbus area. There's some really cool areas where you can also go camping, glamping. So there's a marketplace for that as well, about 40 minutes south of the city or north of the city. So it's a really great location over here.
When you say camping, glamping, I'm much more on the glamping side of things. So thanks for mentioning that to me.
Yeah, this is an important thing for everybody listening. Sarah and I actually met at a city council meeting. So we are just asking anyone that is listening to if you have any sort of presence in your town and you can make it to a city council meeting when they are talking about short-term rental regulations, please show up. It matters. And I just so happened to sit next to Sarah, and we exchanged numbers and we started chatting from there. So I knew showing up was important for our industry. I did not know how important showing up was going to be for my life. So that's where we really like to let people know you never know who you're going to meet at those events. It's not just to show up for the industry that we're in, but it's also to find other hosts in your community and connect and network with them. But we went to that city council meeting because I can profess I had never been to one before, but they were wanting to put some really strict rules and regulations in Columbus that would have prevented us from moving forward with our short-term rentals here. They were just wanting to do like under 100 nights total, which really wasn't going to make it financially feasible for most hosts to continue hosting. And probably a lot of that pressure came from the hotel industry, but we showed up. We spoke out. We showed up again and again and again, and we made the difference. And yes, we do have some rules and regulations now, which we were more than happy to welcome those. And it just wasn't the strict regulations on the time restraints.
You can make a difference. You can move the needle. And often what's lacking at the city level is an understanding of our industry. I suppose that's probably what you encountered, right, in Columbus? Like
hundreds of hosts, standing room only, probably some of the best attended city council meetings, like standing room only, and they were all hosts. Airbnb was actually a great partner during that time, and they helped they were sending out emails. When we went to the meeting, they were identifying us via host stickers. So everyone, the city council members looking out into the crowd could see, oh my gosh, these are so many hosts that our neighbors are here to speak out.
Has it become easier or harder to be a host in Columbus since you started to engage with the city?
It's actually become a little bit more difficult in a good way. So now we have to apply, and the applicants and the owner of the property, so if you're not one and the same, both parties have to have a full-on background check. So it really squashed the individuals who were arbitraging units without the permission of the property owner. And it helped to alleviate some of the oversaturation that was happening because every operator had to go through the application process of the background check, filling out the application. Of course, now there were fees involved and that sort of thing. So there are extra steps involved, which we were actually quite happy about.
You have a very large community of hosts.
Yeah. So thanks for visiting. Annette and I create content every day about hosting, because when Annette and I met from that city council meeting, we first met for coffee and then coffee again. And then I think we leveled it up and had a vodka soda at a cafe. And we just kept talking about the things operationally that happen when you're a host. So from communicating with cleaners to what kind of sheets do you use to how do you handle coffee selection, that we could not, I remember the hour or two that we scheduled to have that meeting together was never enough time. And so we thought, if we are talking about this and we cannot shut up about these conversations, and I know there are other hosts out there too who would really love these conversations, love to hear what we're doing, and we can learn what they're doing. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of content around hosting, what happens after you get it launched on Airbnb, after you buy the property, then what happens? And that's really where Thanks for Visiting stepped in. So from our podcast to our YouTube to our Instagram to our email list, we talk about hosting, and our community is full of hosts who own their own properties, or they own their own properties and they're so good at it that their friends or neighbors or colleagues start asking them to host their property. So co-hosts are actually a really big part of our community as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's not coaching. I mean, maybe it's more business mentors there, like hospitality mentors, business mentors. So, I mean, yes, we're coaching, but we're still, it's like we're a host inside that community too, I guess.
And I'll be really transparent in that the Thanks for Visiting side of things has become so large and demanding that we've had to ask ourselves tough questions about the hosting side and about the management side. And it's been really hard to figure out how to do both, because doing both is so important to us. And we're both good at the hosting part. When we first started, we never thought in a million years, Leo, that our podcast, anyone other than our moms or maybe a few hosts here in Columbus would listen to our podcast when we started. We did not have these ambitions of being able to have a large community. That honestly was not a part of our conversation and wasn't a part of our goals. But Annette and I knew she grew a couple businesses from infancy to multi-million dollar companies. And I have an obsession with running teams. And I worked in hotels, and my husband and I owned, handyman and organizing business. So like the business structure side of it was really interesting to us. And so people would maybe comment on an episode that we would post or ask us for help to grow their co-hosting business. So it almost was like our community was asking us to lead them in a way and give them answers that they didn't know how to find. It's like, well, if you ladies already have done that, just tell me what works for you so I can do that and skip ahead a little bit. And so that has grown into what it is today, but it definitely wasn't what we set out to do, which is actually kind of cool.
But I think it parallels most hosts. Most hosts don't set out to run 6-figure, 7-figure real estate portfolios. And they quickly realize when they, quote unquote, put their house on Airbnb or, try their hand at Airbnb, that they are small business owners now, and they're responsible for safety, for taxes, for guest relations, for revenue management. So yes, we do coach in that aspect because it is a business. And a lot of people thought that they were just, opening up their home to a few guests. And we love that because they realize the power of their property in building out their portfolio financially. And so that's what we get excited about, is when hosts see the opportunity in their real estate that they have purchased for it to be a profit center for their family. And so they know at that point that they do need coaching and they need to run it more like a business. And running it like a business is not a negative thing. It's why we all love certain hotel brands. That's why people love the Four Seasons. They're running it like a Starbucks. There's things that you want to run it like a business because you want to have that consistency for your guest. And so that's our mission too that's why we do help so many hosts, is we all collectively want to, we need to up-level the entire industry. So even though we might host all over the world independently, we are all still part of the short-term rental community. So if someone stays with us here in Ohio, Leo, and then they come to stay in the UK with you, or let's say Humphrey, somebody, like, we're still the same brand of short-term rental. We might be different hosts in different countries, but we are still under the same umbrella of short-term rentals. So it's really important that that's why we talk about these things every single day, because we all are important to each other.
Ever heard of the BRRR framework? Stay tuned and learn what Annette and Sarah plan for literally every property they buy. There's more from the property manager as guest.
It depends on what your goals are. So I will tell you, managing someone else's property is a giant responsibility. And I definitely put my teacher hat on, or I get on my soapbox when anyone thinks that co-hosting is going to be, when they don't approach it from that business aspect, because you are responsible for someone's asset. And you are then, if you change that from co-host to asset manager, would you stand up a little taller, put your shoulders back a little bit more, and take it more seriously when you are helping them understand how they price their property, how they do their preventative care with their property, what guests stay at the property, so that we can ensure that the right guest is staying at the right property, so both things work harmoniously. So if you're not ready for that sort of responsibility, then absolutely manage your own properties and do that, because someone is going to ask you to manage their property once they see that you're rocking it out and that you enjoy it. But that does not mean you have to. Only if that lifestyle, that career path, it is a career, because it's really hard to make it a side hustle when you're responsible for something so important in someone else's life. I'm not saying it can't be done, but you just need to give it the attention it deserves. And I feel really passionate about that, having met so many co-hosts out there who are currently helping rebuild their foundation because they've built and scaled so fast without having all these checks and balances in place for their clients. It's a tough place to be in. So anyone who's interested, that's awesome. Just make sure you understand what you're signing up for. Depending on, co-host also can mean so many different things to so many different people. It might mean to you just communicating with the guest, right? Or maybe you're an inspector and you make sure the clean goes well and it's ready for the guest. You might call yourself a co-host then. But if you think of co-host as attaching yourself on someone's Airbnb listing and communicating with the guest and making sure the cleaners show up and having a say in what the property is priced at and making sure that you are improving pricing year over year, preventative maintenance to make sure that the HVAC will always be working for the guest and that the dishwasher is going to be working for the guest and that all those things are working within a home, then that's a lot of responsibility there.
You've terrified me with how much
you should be a little terrified, just a little.
Definitely think that co-hosting is all of those things too.
I think people not taking it serious as a business out of like immediately, just, trying it. And it's like, no, you're responsible for like human lives staying the night at your home. I don't say that lightly because I think people really don't understand the enormity of having people spend the night in your property. Like you are responsible for their safety. You're responsible for their overnight stay. They're spending their hard-earned money with you. So I think the biggest mistake is people getting into it and like maybe I'll use the term dabbling. Like I'll try it. And it's like, it's not fair to just try this to the guest that's coming to stay. You owe it to them to, take it serious and be ready for that guest to stay. So I think that's the people that want to like, let's say, get rich quick, or maybe they're like, oh, I'll do this for a little while and not taking it as serious as they should right out of the gate. I wish there was a little bit, even if to launch on Airbnb, I'm going to say it, even just it was $100 just to try it, because I think that the platform being quote unquote free, entices a lot of people that maybe wouldn't be serious if there was just a smaller barrier of entry there. Biggest misconception is like, you can just 3x what your long-term rental could be or 4x. And it's this, a get rich quick type thing.
And it's not all the fault of the hosts who do dabble, because they're told via content that is free online, that it is easy and that you should scale at all costs. And I think the real estate gurus out there make it so that, you should be cash flowing right away. And hey, if you're going to start co-hosting business, like it's really easy. You just got to, build these simple, get a couple of VAs, ripping and raring on your guest communication. And then you can just keep plugging houses in. And it's so interesting. If you think of any other business, it's like a restaurant, and you did a forecasting for that restaurant. And in all reality, how soon will the owner make money back on that investment? It's not day one. You know what I mean? And like the restaurant is, yes, you have like friends and family when you're opening up, you have a soft launch and then you finally welcome guests in and then you're still fixing your systems. But at the end of the day, it takes time to get that restaurant in operation, but you have all hands on deck during friends and family. The CEO's there, the managers are there. Everyone is there learning and doing their best. And we don't have that same kind of seriousness around when you open your short-term rental. Like we tell people essentially to have a friends and family. That's one of our top tips when you open up your short-term rentals. Have a friends and family. Have a soft launch before you get a paying guest in there. Because once the guest arrives, there's not much you can do. If all your automations with your messaging don't trigger, like you can still send them manually before they arrive. But if when they arrive, they can't find the place, they can't check in easy, it's dirty, the bed doesn't have everything the guest needs to have a great stay, you can go and try to make it right while the guest is there, but they're already annoyed. they've already created friction. So treating it again, like we'll say it again, like as any other business, talk about any other business and on any other business podcast, it would be asinine to think that on day one, first of all, you're going to have cash flow. And second of all, it's going to be this like seamless process and you should be able to ask top dollar. It's an interesting angle that we've taken in this industry. And Annette and I really try to pull the curtain back and be realistic with hosts so that they can be in it for the long haul. Because we believe that's where the sweetness comes. Is when you have like a 3-year, 5-year or more plan for your short-term rental and those numbers moving forward. That's when reality is going to get you excited as a host.
Yeah, for us,
it depends. My husband and I, when we buy a property, usually it's a value add property. So if we can, it's like, I don't know, I think it's probably called the same thing over in the UK, but we call it the BRRR method. So you buy, you renovate, you refinance, you rent, and then you repeat. Okay. And so if we can put all our money in and get it back from a major renovation, that is one of the strategies that we'll use and then our rent is short-term rental. So we even have better numbers on the back end because we're not doing it long-term. We've only ever done short-term. So that was exciting for us. Annette and I just bought some land here in the Ohio area. And for us, it's a legacy property. So we know very well, like we were just doing some forecasting, talking about it this morning. And, we probably won't make money on this land, like true profit. We'll be able to pay our expenses, but true profit, what we were saying, 3-4 years down the road. And then that's phase one. So as we add more properties, it will become more profitable for us. But we know going into it that we won't. And that's part of the plan. And we plan on holding this property for a very long time and having it really be something we can sink our teeth into. So I think each investment, it kind of depends. We have another townhome that I can tell you we maybe cash flow $100 a month. It's not a home run, but it definitely got us working together as a team. It was a great deal in terms of we bought it from one of our clients. The interest rate is really low. We didn't have to pay any realtor fees. We manage it, quote unquote, for free because it's just in our management portfolio. So there's other advantages there too. And it's a highly appreciating neighborhood. So this neighborhood has a lot of room to grow while still having our guests in a safe, desirable place. So that's the appreciation game there. So it kind of just depends on the opportunity, but we always go into it feeling comfortable that a guest is going to love being there. And we have a couple exit strategies baked in, whether it's going from short term to midterm and then midterm to long term and then long term to being able to sell it. It's not going to sit on the market for a long time. So we're always thinking exit strategy. Like the land, we bought that land with equity built into it. So if we don't open up one cabin, that land is appreciating. It's worth more than what we bought it for already. So there's a few exit strategies whenever we're buying something that we consider.
And we should be clear, the land is it's 133 acres.
It's a lot
of land. It's not a small little postage stamp.
No.
So when we tell people it's going to take us a while to cash flow there, and it is legacy, like Sarah said, it's something that had hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity after we purchased it already. So it is a long-term play. I think all of our plays too are realistic, and what we hear so much is I'll let the future self worry about that. And it's no, you can't do that because you just need to plan on what if things don't change? What if interest rates don't change? What if you don't make more money? We all think, oh, I'm going to have more money. The interest rates are going to come down. You wear rose-colored glasses. And then when that doesn't happen, there can be a lot of trouble. So it's thinking, like Sarah said, having those multiple exit strategies on it. We've been talking to a lot of hosts recently that they want to change their portfolio up a little bit, but they bought in 2020 and they can't do that. They don't have any wiggle room. And so, or they're selling things out of their portfolio because their interest rates are rising, or it was home equity loan, things like that, where we thought things would change and we're all just kind of sitting around waiting still. So, that's part of it too, is not getting stuck in the waiting game. And we'll share, you know what? It's, and it's slow and steady, and it's probably not this glitzy glamour that everybody wants to share, but they want that get rich quick, or it's appreciating, then I sell and then I go to the next. And it's there's something to be said for the tortoise and a hare is a famous story for a reason. It ends up winning in the end, slow and steady wins the race for sure.
And I know that I'm a little lucky in this now because I built a brand for myself locally. But when people come to me now and they say, I follow you on Instagram and I've seen all your properties and they're gorgeous, and I am so on board with your take on hospitality, and I love it when you say if they reach for it, it should be there, and you want quality over quantity, you are my kind of operator. And when they say that, they've done their research on me, then I get excited. Now I have my own, the kind of properties that I need to focus on to bring in to move the needle in the business. And so that doesn't always mean just because the owner is incredible, the property, and not just the way the property looks, but there's other attributes that have to align with the business to make it a good fit. But when an owner comes in and they already know who I am and what I stand for, that's a great fit. Now, if there's a co-host out there that doesn't quite have that yet, start talking about on your, whether you're on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, wherever you show up online. You have to show up somewhere online, in my opinion, or a newsletter. It can be a newsletter if you want, but really talking about your mission, really talking about why you exist, why you host. That is going to help you attract the kind of owners where you'll have a long-term relationship. Because if you don't have a long-term relationship, it's really hard to get that property pumping and flowing like you want it to if you're just always onboarding and offboarding. You really want a property that you can have 5, 10, 15-year relationship with. So that complete alignment. If there's any red flags in that first conversation with an owner, for me at this point, it's a hard no, because I know it's just going to be friction the whole way and they're not going to be happy. When I'm spending money on something that they think is frivolous, when I know it's essential to who I am and my mission and my business. And so I think that's another mistake co-hosts make, is they think of themselves as the employee of the property owner. And it couldn't be further from the truth. If you're a co-host, you build your own brand, you have your own program, and you and the owner are a partner. Okay. So they have to love the program that you've built. They have to love what you stand for and the way you operate and give you full trust. If there's not trust there, and if they're already questioning, actually in our private community, there's someone who this weekend screenshot from the owner's attorney all these questions. And it was like ridiculous things where you can tell the attorney and the property owners have never worked with, a property manager before or a co-host. And I just warned her, I was like, if they're already uneasy about you having the ability to spend $300 without having to ask their permission, which is very standard, at least in the US for property managers, to make something right so a guest can enjoy their stay. If it's under $300, under $400, I have the right to do this. They were questioning that. And it's like, that is a red flag for me, because if they don't trust me to spend that amount of money for a guest stay, then there's going to be some bigger issues down the road. So really, if you're a co-host out there, to stand in that you are a business owner and not an employee of your property owner is really going to help you shift your mindset on as you build your business moving forward.
And if you're willing to turn down those deals, I think it shows that you have an understanding of your worth. And I'm sure you've had a situation or had situations where happy hosts have introduced you to other people.
Yes, 100%.
I think that's the spoiler alert, actually. Like, getting the clients for co-hosts and property managers, I don't think that's the issue. They're going to come to you. I mean, we speak to hosts every day. Like, if you are doing a good job hosting, those clients are going to want to work with you. So it's more about making sure you have your team prepared and yourself prepared to handle that. That acquisition should be easy for you if everything else is running smoothly.
We just bought 134 acres so we can put a bunch of, glamping units on it. Who knows? I will say this. My plan is STR for life, but I also went to college for musical theater and was a Broadway actor for 15 years. And I swore I was going to die in New York City and be buried in Queens. Like I was, New York City or death. And here I am in Columbus, Ohio with Annette Grant, and I haven't sang a note in years. So who knows? But that is certainly the plan. I have no plans to exit at this point.
I can share. I'm gonna answer for Sarah. We will be STR for life, because here's the deal. Once you have welcomed paying guests into your home, you will never have overnight guests in your personal home ever again the same. So all of the lessons from short-term rental, those are lessons that will carry on forever in any sort of overnight stay that you have or you host at any sort of level again. So I think what's so cool about the question is the STR for life is the lessons learned from sales to marketing to hospitality to operations will always be transferable and anything that we do moving forward, especially like in our own homes and our own like overnight stays. I think that's what's so beautiful about about the industry is anything that we learn here is going to be transferable, forever. So it is for life. But you know what? We have a mentor that we like to listen to, and it's like, what business isn't stressful though? Like, honestly, like, what are we going to do? Pivot to something else? It's going to it will have its all new set of stressors. Like Sarah just said, she was an actor. It came with a lot of stress. This is my third career. Each one prior came with its own set of stress that was different. So I think that's also the thing is like every business is going to have its challenges and its stressors. And so if you're just running away from one industry, thinking the other one is going to be stress-free, you're sorely mistaken. That's the spoiler alert right there for everyone. So at the end of the day, if you were doing any business that involves humans, any business that involves yourself and hard work, there's going to be stress involved for sure.
I love that.
And it doesn't have to be negative stress. Stress can be positive.
So how we get away is and this is another thing with co-hosts that I will just forever like hold them dear to my heart. When we get a new co-host in our private community is where they're at in their burnout level. And so I've built out my team so that I am pinged less, right? I am messaged less. I have less things popping in my inbox. I have a team of human beings who are better than me, and I never thought I would find them, but they are out there, I promise you all, at various aspects of being the first to answer questions from guests or owners or the OTAs or the bookkeeper, right? So that I can protect more of myself and think bigger, or at least just have some downtime. So building in team members to help filter that out for you is essential, especially in this business. So that's how I take breaks. And yeah, we do hang out outside of this.
We do hang out. And what's disgusting about it, we can share, is that
I'm nervous.
No, we do. We travel together. And so, of course, we are operationally looking at everything. Either hotel or short-term rental that we're staying in. We dine out together very, very often. And every time we want to fix operationally every place that we dine, it's like we just want to fix it. But yeah, we do hang out together outside of work. And I think that's the cool thing too, is just like, we actually love working. Like I like this weekend, we weren't together, but we were independently working. Like, it's actually fun. It's fun to build things. It's fun. It's like, serving other people and helping them with their businesses is like so rewarding. So it's fun. But yeah, we do hang out together.
I love it. Guys, thanks so much for your time. It's been great talking. For anyone at home who hasn't heard of Annette and Sarah, thanks for visiting. Go check them out. There'll be a link in the bio. Yeah, we're honoured to have you on the show. So yeah, looking forward to catching up with you both in Phoenix. Thanks for popping by. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. You can follow the show on LinkedIn or Instagram @Superhog for more useful and educational information. If you have questions or would like to be featured on a future show, get in touch with us in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed the show, please share our podcast with someone you think may enjoy it too. Goodbye for now.